Are you ready to take the leap into homeschooling but don't quite know what to do and where to start? Whether you're just starting to consider it or you've already made the decision, we've got the perfect guide to help you along the way. Introducing the Ultimate Quick Start Guide to Homeschooling. It's your compass offering concise directions that make getting started a breeze. Dive in and discover everything you need to know, from legal requirements to curriculum tips, all in one place. Because at Theros Academy, we believe that every parent has the power to homeschool with confidence. Go to today's show notes to get your hands on this comprehensive quick guide and start your homeschooling journey today. Hey, you've got this.
Welcome to the Essence of Homeschooling podcast, brought to you by the umbrella school, Theros Academy. We empower and equip you to cultivate the authentic homeschool lifestyle where freedom and relationships rule.
Hey friend, I'm glad you're here today. We're going to be discussing books that helped shape us as homeschooling moms and the way we live out the homeschool lifestyle. We hope you will enjoy our discussion around the gifts we have found in these books and those people who have mentored us through their written word. We're going to take turns, and each of us, I'd like you to share one of your favorite books and talk about why it was meaningful for you, how it was impactful, what it did to help create a different culture in your home, if you remember it, and just anything else that sticks out to you about that book.
I'll start with this one. Families Where Grace is in Place by Jeff VanVonderen. I think what was so integral for me, and I would say that the books that I'm picking right now, these three are the ones that set me on the path. They inspired me and they formed my idea of motherhood as opposed to true education, but this idea that children are valuable, they are persons, they require effort, which we knew, but there was something about these different books that just helped guide me and shift me from the model I'd grown up with to really an immersive parenting type of situation. Families Where Grace is in Place was very important because it helped me see how I could parent without legalism or manipulation or guilt or shame. So those things came off the table and I could learn how to parent my kids in an encouraging and supportive environment. It reminds us that feelings are valid. And I just remember there were times, we all have different growing up. I have great parents, but they're not perfect. And they came from a different time period and a different style than what I wanted for my kids. Plus, when you get married, you marry a completely different person than either one of your parents. And so now you have to blend the things that you had or you missed with the person you married, with what they had or what they missed. And you have to create your own style. So this really was a key takeaway for me. The subtitle is Getting Free from the Burden of Pressuring, Controlling, Manipulating Your Spouse and Children. Super helpful because he was a counselor. So he also has a take from the counseling setting and has a perspective on what families have really gone through. And on the back, it says, Building a Grace-Filled Marriage and Raising Creative, Contented, Capable Children Without Legalism or Manipulation. But I wouldn't say that was my homeschool thing, but I think as we're formed as parents, it also forms how we homeschool. It's never too late. See, that's the beauty of it, is we're always growing, right?
For me, this was pretty easy. This one jumped right to mind when I heard this question, and I think I've kind of alluded to this before a little bit, but when we very first started homeschooling our boys, my oldest was in kindergarten, my youngest was 3-ish, so pre-K. My oldest, of course, I was really focusing a lot more on my oldest. We had just moved to Colorado and we had joined a MOPS group, and I was at a table with other homeschool moms, and we had kind of chatted, but not super in depth. And I was having quiet meltdown at home because things just weren't going the way that I wanted them to, the way I expected them to, because coming from the classroom, I thought I'd just pick up my classroom, put it in a box, bring it home, open it up, and here we go. I've got this. It's just apples and oranges. It's just two completely different things, classroom versus homeschooling lifestyle. In November, I put it all away and I said, Lord, if you still want me to do this, I'm going to take the month of December off. We deschooled. I didn't know that's what it was, but we did. And then if something hasn't changed in January, I gotta put him in school because this is not what I thought it would be. And I'll just be a really good room mom. But then our very last MOPS meeting, my now very good friend Anna and my friend Jess, they said, come on over, grab a loaf of bread and peanut butter and come over to our house. Got to read this book. It'll change everything for you. And the book was Better Late Than Early by Dr. Raymond and Dorothy Moore, a husband and wife team. They have some other complementary books. One is The Successful Homeschool Family, Handbook, I think, and Homegrown Kids. These are kind of older books, even at the time when I was first reading them. They just have really timeless advice. And really, it comes down to his belief after all of his studies observing families and children and just being in the whole world of education is that kids really aren't like psychologically ready, mentally ready to fully dive into formalized learning until at least they're 8 or 9 years old, sometimes closer to 10 or 12. What was kind of funny at the time, I was talking to my dad and he said, it's great you're homeschooling your boys, but, I don't think any boys should be subjected to sitting and reading, learning how to read until they're at least 8 or 9. He had no idea he was quoting Dr. Moore. And that what's funny about that is he was all about education, pastor and teacher and all this. That was just so funny hearing him say that. It really was wisdom. He knew sometimes kids need to get their wiggles out and let their minds mature and grow before they're really, really ready to let everything sink in. And obviously, it's fun to learn. Kids learn almost by osmosis, right? Just along the way. This is not anything against formal education. For me, it was more of a paradigm shift of don't freak out. Don't stress out. And you don't have to have them sitting at their little desk doing all the workbook pages for 4 hours straight. It doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work. Their brains don't work that way. Their bodies don't work that way. So it was super, super freeing and completely changed my life. 180-degree turn, and my kids' lives too, for that matter. That's my number one favorite book. It's hard to find now too. You might be able to find it in the library. I wished I had hung on to mine. It's long gone. I passed it on. Even the copies that you see on Amazon are not that great, or they're super expensive. Hopefully you can track a copy down. Maybe check your library, used bookstore.
One of my favorite books when I just started homeschooling my kids was called The Read Aloud Handbook by Jim Trelease. The first part of the book is all about why you should read aloud to your children, the research behind reading aloud, what you should read aloud, and why you should invest this time in reading books to them, even after they can read to themselves. And that was all new to me. I wasn't aware of all the research on children's brains and how reading aloud has so many benefits to their brain development, to their education later on. It was eye-opening to me. And then the second half of the book is his hand-picked treasury of read alouds, he calls it. So it starts with wordless books. He goes to picture books. And what I really, really liked about it as a new homeschooling mom of toddlers, preschoolers, even elementary kids, when we're busy, we don't really maybe know what we're doing. We don't know when we go to the library or a bookstore, what's the best book? Is this good for my children's ages? Is this, a subject that I want to expose them to? So I really like that in his second half of the book, he goes through and he has each book, whether it's in a series, what the grade level for read aloud, which is different than reading themselves, and then a synopsis, little synopsis of the book. I loved it. I used this every single time we went to the library to help me figure out what to read to them. And then it just guided me on staying the course of reading aloud because when things get busy, it's easy to stop reading to your kids, especially when they can start reading to themselves, but they really still need to be read to. So it really guided me to keep going, and then it exposed me to books that I probably never would have found in the library or at the bookstore. I never would have gravitated to myself. And then as it goes on, it even goes up into full-length novels. He has a poetry section. I think it's just a wonderful book. And I think he's on, I don't know what edition he's on. He's on maybe the fifth or sixth edition. It's been out a long time. It's just a wonderful treasury of read alouds.
That's great. That one was new to me. I'm glad you brought that one up.
Me too. It
Always.
reminds me of Honey for a Child's Heart that so many people recommended it because it was basically a book list. And then I think Sarah Clarkson wrote a book as well about all the books. But I like how it sounds like Jim Trelease broke that down in a different way than others have.
I've
That's a
heard of those
gold
other
mine.
books, but I've never read them, so I can't compare, but I think in any way you break it up would be beneficial, but I think that this is really written towards people who are new to reading aloud with their children, which I was. It's just wonderful the way it's set up. You can go through, you can pick books, you can choose it by age, choose it by subject. And now looking back at it, I have all these notes in the book, and it's almost like
It's a
reliving.
memory.
Yes, it's the memory now. I look back and I have, oh, this child liked this one. This child loved this one. This one was a little scary. Try it again in a year. It's almost like a little scrapbook or a little memory book of my children's early years.
That's neat.
That's beautiful.
Don't ever
I
get rid
like
of
that.
that. Keep that forever.
Definitely.
Yes, we've moved and I have gotten rid of a lot of books and I regret some of them, but I could not get rid of this one.
Mhm.
Are you holding it right now?
Hmm.
Yeah, I can tell, like, you're just like, oh,
I
like
know
you're
the
looking back
fondness.
over pictures of your babies and all of your memories, like right there in the book.
Yeah.
Because stories are amazing. You go on adventures with each other and
Mm,
you share things together that you can't in everyday life, and you all get swept away. It's magical. It's
it is
absolutely
magical.
magical.
It helps also set the language of your home because it's funny how often my kids will say, "Oh, that's like this character." And because we've all read it together, everybody knows. My kids go around quoting song lyrics and movie quotes all the time, but that our kids are quoting books or remembering characters and that we shared with them, it's so rich and it sets such a good tone in the home. Audiobooks helped though as well because to have someone else's voice. So those would be road trip kind of things. Or then it became, here, I listen to this, you do it. But it's great to have my oldest son who's like, hey, I read this, you've got to read it. And he'll drop a book by or send us a link or audio. And so it's great that books, and one of the reasons I love books is I think it pulls families together. And clearly, I mean, Stacy's still going back through her book, going, "Oh, look at this! It's so beautiful."
You know,
It's wonderful memories. All the years when they're little and snuggled up next to you and sitting on your lap and you can read books. And as I'm flipping through this, I can remember certain books and what we talked about afterwards, even if it was just a couple minutes because they were little.
Right.
That would be a whole nother topic sometime of lessons learned.
Sometimes I think the lessons were for me, not my children.
Yeah.
Yes, often.
The next book I pulled off my shelf is called A House Full of Friends: How to Like the Ones You Love by Susan Yates. And so what was really neat for me on this one is I know this woman personally. She was the is the wife of my pastor when I lived in Virginia. Now they're no longer overseeing the church and they did not homeschool, but the whole idea of being intentional with my parenting and realizing that, yes, they're children, but at the same time, we're raising adults. And how do we raise one another? Well, yes, because children raise us as well, don't they? Um, how do I raise my children in a way that I would want to be friends with them when they're older? And so to also have had, whether it's through women's ministry or different groups that I've had personal conversations with Susan as well, but just the reminder of the value of family. And I think that's one. Colleen, you often have said that no one can replace a mother. I think we know that innately, but sometimes it's hard to really live into that truth or think that our children actually believe it. But this was a reminder that it matters. We're intentional in how we raise our kids. That helped form the family that my husband and I were building and the way we wanted to build our family. I remember being a part of a mom's group and we would go through books together. We'd have one parenting book and one marriage book. So the first half of the year would be a parenting book, and the second half would be a book on marriage because it all matters. Your children do need you to have your marriage working well, not perfect, because we won't be perfect, but how do we overcome?
Yeah, they feel it when the marriage isn't working well, it impacts them.
But
Okay.
when they also see us overcome and remember that, and it may not be until a few years down the road or until their own marriage one day hits a rough spot that they go, oh, my parents actually worked through this. That means it's worthwhile and we can come out on the other side. That's what we want for our kids, is that statheros, steadfastness, that fortitude, and that faith to grow in that. We've got to live it out ourselves as well. That's the hard part.
Yeah, kids aren't given any favors, or we're not doing our kids any favors by hiding marital conflicts. I mean, you have to live it out in front of them and show them how to still be kind and caring even when you're disagreeing and things aren't perfect. They
Mhm.
can't learn how to handle conflict if they never see people handling it properly.
Hmm.
I agree.
Yeah.
Are you looking for a supportive community to walk with you through your homeschooling journey? Look no further. Statheros Academy is your go-to umbrella school for fulfilling legal reporting requirements in Colorado. But what if you don't live in Colorado? We still serve you through our support tools and services. At Statheros Academy, we're not just another institution. We're your partners in education, providing comprehensive support services designed to empower, encourage, and equip you to be the best homeschool parent that your children deserve. Teacher and student IDs, parent and professional evaluations, attendance logs, record-keeping services, DIY high school transcripts, or our official homeschool high school transcript service produces personalized transcripts that highlight your students' unique accomplishments. High school diplomas celebrate your family's achievement when you successfully complete the adventure. Additionally, our experienced homeschool coaches provide one-on-one support throughout your journey. Custom tailor your homeschool support system by selecting one of our 3 enrollment packages based on your family's needs. This way, you can get exactly what you need to make the most of your homeschooling experience. We come alongside you in the way you want to be supported, whether that's the bare minimum or holding your hand each step of the way. The Umbrella School Statheros Academy provides what you want the way you want it. So why wait? Enroll with Statheros Academy today and unlock a world of possibilities for your homeschooling journey. Go to theumbrellaschool.com to learn more and sign up. We can't wait to serve your family.
The other author that was really instrumental in changing my whole paradigm when I very first started homeschooling was Dr. Ruth Beechick. She has several books out there. There's one called The 3 R's, 3 of her smaller books combined into one. You can buy these smaller books separately. There's an early start in arithmetic, a home start in reading, a strong start in language. And she's basically saying, go gentle. You don't necessarily need, again, a curriculum. I actually like curriculum. I can talk about curriculum a lot, but you don't always need it. She was talking about how you can teach your kids really just organically as you go about your day and make simple spelling lists just from, again, things that you maybe encounter during your day and having fun with language and really teaching kids how to speak properly in a really organic way. You don't say, we sits on the couch. Obviously, kids picked up language just because they're natural native speakers and you learn as you go. She was very good at helping me relax and go, okay, I can just really breathe here. And if I don't get the curriculum done today, that's okay. I can have a great conversation with my child and we can do this organically. So I really like her.
I agree. Ruth Beechick is great. She breaks it down in a way that is so doable and
Mhm.
relatable and helpful.
Yes. And like those books are just skinny little, I don't know, 30 pages at the most. When are you supposed to read? Sometimes you think as a mom, especially you're teaching, but they didn't feel overwhelming when I was first starting. They're good.
Certainly for those younger years, there's not the pressure. It's just the reminder that you're building little humans
Mhm.
and that the use of language and everyday mathematics and learning to love a book for its pictures, for the simple words, whatever it is, for the rhyming. It just helped. It was a way to play with math, reading, and writing without it feeling like they're sitting at their desk. Right, Kim?
Yes, absolutely. It's a good way to put it.
We used it too, and it took the pressure off me, especially in the realm of spelling, reading, and literature, to do it the way that schools do it. You get your spelling words on Monday, you drill them all week, you have your test on Friday, that model. So her books really opened my eyes to a whole new way to do that.
What is the way to do it? Can you tell us?
Just naturally, organically. So for one child that I have, she loves to read, has always loved to read. And so she's naturally a good speller from reading good literature. It's a completely different way of thinking about learning spelling.
Yes, and with both the authors that I mentioned, the Moores and Ruth Beechick, it's really comes back to like what Michelle was talking about, grace. There's a lot of grace in it and just relaxing and looking at the bigger picture. Yes, academics are important, but learning who your child is and teaching them in natural ways as possible is really ideal if you can pull that off, when you can pull that off. And again, I'm not against curriculum by any means, but there are different ways you can get the job done.
I feel like for little ones, I'm a little anti-curriculum when they're so tiny. I just feel like the connection and the bonding and doing things naturally, like what you're saying, is just invaluable when they're tiny.
It's ideal, yeah.
It just means so much more. Yeah. I know that some people like it, but everybody's got to do what they got to do.
Especially when they're first starting out as a new homeschool mom and as a new mom, you kind of feel like you might want a guideline. And so I totally get that, where people are coming from with that. But just knowing that there is another way to segue into as you grow and as you learn what you're doing and kind of getting your confidence about you is kind of neat. Good to have a guideline there.
Well, it sounds like this is a great guideline because it's how you figure out your groove in your house, your own essence of homeschooling in your own home, your own lifestyle. What are the ebbs and flows of your schedule? What are the ebbs and flows of your day? How is it going to roll out each day of your own rhythms and how your family interacts? I think this is a great way for people to do it naturally without the pressure of a curriculum, because curriculum can really make you feel panicked. When my little guys were going, starting in kindergarten, first grade, we did My Father's World, and I think it's great. I couldn't do it the way that it was written. I really needed to modify it because with all the boxes on this day and get this done, it was like so much. And I was like, wait, we're on Wednesday, but we're still on Monday. We're in Monday's box because we had so much interest and fun with this. Like we wanted to stay here. And that became a very, very intense pressure for me to be in the wrong box on the wrong day and to feel like I needed to be doing something else. And what I was doing must be wrong because it wasn't what the curriculum was telling me to do. So I think for people just getting started with young ones, anytime anybody's getting started homeschooling, I think it's great to go more gentle and figure out your groove and figure out how it's going to work in your house rather than risking becoming a slave to curriculum, which we've talked about that. We'll talk about that again, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Those sound great.
And Ruth Beechick has another one. Those ones that Kim mentioned are for more elementary, K through third grade. But she has another book that is called You Can Teach Your Children Successfully. And that's for grades 4 through 8. So she also reminds you and gives you major pointers through there
Yes.
of how to help. And I think as we were talking about this prior, we've talked about in a way that these authors have become our book mentors. They walk us through and we can have them continually in our home because we can constantly go back to what they've written to help us, encourage us, challenge us, inspire us, whatever it is. Those resources are fabulous. Ruth Beechick was very helpful.
And when you reread a book, that never gets tired of you asking it to repeat itself.
Correct. And
Wait,
it
can you
never
explain
gets
that
snarky
again?
with
Wait,
me.
can you explain that again?
Doesn't lose its patience.
Yeah, I love books. I
do
mean, not as
too.
much as Michelle loves books, but I also love books. Stacey, what do you have? What's your last one?
At first, my last one's going to sound like the exact opposite of what we just talked about. However, it's not.
I
So,
know what it is.
yes. So, this book, The Well Trained Mind by Susan Wise Bauer and Jessie Wise. It was one of the first books, I believe, on classical homeschooling, and it can read like a manual, but it doesn't have to be taken that way. And so, what I liked about it, and this is how I think it goes in with what we were just saying, not the opposite, is I did not read it like a manual. I read it like an introduction to a new world.
I was not homeschooled. I did not know any schoolers growing up. I really did not meet any homeschooling families until my oldest was in preschool. So the whole thing was new to me. And to be honest, I don't know if this is the same with any of you. I didn't know what they did all day. For real. I was like, "Oh, you homeschool? Does that mean you play? Do you actually do anything?" I didn't know what it meant. And so this book showed me what it could mean. Not that it has to look like it and not that it's a manual to follow, but it showed me homeschooling can be rigorous, academic, well-planned, sequential. It can be all of those things. And so I really, really enjoyed her focus on academics. She's a university professor, and then she talked you through each subject in each grade. I eventually combined it with more like Ruth Beechick and other authors. So I didn't use it as a manual, but I really think it was a really good introduction to homeschooling for a newbie that I was. Have you guys ever used this book or heard of this book?
I remember it. I went through it as well, and I think you're representing it very well because you can choose to go through it as a manual, but to inspire that home education is actually education.
Right.
We are actually teaching them something, but it broke it down in a way that made it possible, much like we were talking about Ruth Beechick. Maybe not quite as gentle as Ruth Beechick, but everything has its season. And I think as our kids got older, there were seasons to be more rigorous and more challenging in their education. And it was very helpful. It's definitely the classical model, which I think is still great. I can't say I'm one model. I'm kind of a mess of all of them. To be able to get an idea, especially I'm with you, Stacey. I had never met a homeschooler until I was homeschooling.
Right.
Right? So I didn't know what is that, right? So it was very different, but it was great to have, especially from a university professor, right, to give you an idea of education. So that was helpful. I agree.
Mhm. Yes, that's excellent. Especially if your child is really wired that way, it gives you a framework of how to make that happen. It's very impressive. If that works for your family, that's fantastic.
One word of caution though, I would think if you're type A and you read this book, you could get all spun up. I need to, I should, I have to. So I would caution against that. Read all the books that we're suggesting and read lots of other books and take a piece from each of them because if I would have read this book and implemented every single thing in it, I would have driven myself and my kids crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
What would you say Ruth Beechick's style would be?
Not
Maybe more
exactly.
Montessori.
I was thinking
That
Montessori
might be
or
good.
yeah, possibly Charlotte Mason, but really more Montessori, yeah.
Okay.
What do you
Right.
think?
Child-centered, which was
Mhm.
very Montessori style.
Yeah.
That's good. Because the last book I would mention is more probably Charlotte Mason based. And again, I read it while I still had very young kids. So I didn't even know I was going to homeschool yet, but it helped form, again, it helped form my home and then led me into a way of homeschooling that I still go back to, with the Charlotte Mason being living books, reading real books, and doing nature studies. And so I should tell you the title. For the Children's Sake, Foundations of Education for Home and School by Susan Schaefer McCaullay. And the real books, we had so much fun with the library and playing with books since my kids were very little. So it helped to have somebody remind me that, oh, those are good things to do. Keep doing what you're doing kind of thing and keep playing outside the way you're playing. It was very influential, inspiring, and reminding me just that education can be that natural. And so hers is more the Charlotte Mason focus, where the Bowers or the Wise Bowers are classical, but I think everything has its time and its place because each child's different. I have 5 in my family, 5 kids, so all of them are different. I can't say that I did use a lot of the same things, but they each needed something different at different times. So some would have needed more classical, some needed more time outside, some needed more games, more nurturing, slower pace, more challenge. It's all different.
Mhm.
That's why the beauty of books, right? They're not judging your children and you're getting encouragement and support as you read it so you can apply it to your family and your child. the way you need to.
That's good.
And you're able to take pieces of each book and create your own, be eclectic.
I pick up The Well-Trained Mind along the way, and I started reading it, and I did not have a good gauge of how to glean at that point. And exactly what you said happened to me. And it was really hard because I started going through it. I'm like, I failed at everything. I should be doing this. I should have done that. I failed. And I ended up not finishing it because it was too intense. So I love that you said that, because I would encourage people, if you're like me and you're starting to think, I don't want to look at that book, it's intimidating. I did this with Sax Math. Let me tell you, I heard about Sax and Math when we started, and I was like, oh, that's very intimidating, because math was never a strong suit. And we tried every other math under the sun. And finally, like 3 years ago, I was like, okay, let's try Saxon. And it's the best thing that we ever did. And it was like, if I would have just gotten over myself and slowed down and just been willing to try and be uncomfortable, we all would have been a lot less uncomfortable. As you're checking out books and considering different things, if they start to feel a little bit intense, don't throw them away, but change your perspective. It's not telling you what you have to do. It's not telling you who you need to be, but take it and just look at it from the vantage point of, this has worked for somebody else, and what can I take from this and apply it to my own life? Because your homeschool will be better off for it, taking that wisdom from the other people. So be brave and read books, even if they make you feel a little uncomfortable or if they look intimidating. That old saying is so great. Do not judge a book by its cover. Be bold and read the books.
Yeah.
And we are straight up out of time, but I just want to throw my 2 favorite books in that helped me along the way. The first one was The Wholehearted Child by Clay and Sally Clarkson. I think it's his name that's actually on that book, but the Clarksons wrote that together, I'm sure. And then Teaching from Rest by Sarah Mackenzie. And those books are really great. Pick them up, check them out.
The beautiful thing about The Wholehearted Child is it's a workbook as well, so you can really work through it at your pace and center it around your child. Amazingly helpful. So you've heard some of our favorite books, the ones that have inspired us around parenting and homeschooling. While we recommend them to you, we also know there are many other great books out there. So go find your own book mentor and see where it leads you.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode. We hope that you enjoyed the conversation and found it insightful. Be sure to check out today's show notes for all applicable links and additional resources. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. Your support helps us continue to bring you great content. Until next time, happy homeschooling.